Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a behind the scenes look at future content and interesting things that I've been doing lately. Now, if you're wondering why this video is so dark, it's because of this. There's an upgrade that I have purchased, which is from Aputure. It's the 300D, which is a ridiculously bright light, which is obviously going to light up my space quite well. And just for reference, on my right hand side is the standard light that I use for capturing video. I usually have two of these, and you can see the difference. That is, as it is, default power. It's just an arm's length away from me. The 300D is the same length, but look at the difference. This is max brightness. You can turn it down, luckily, because that is ridiculously bright. There we go. And get it to a nicer level, and I actually look okay. But what you'll see is other interesting highlights that include decorated walls. So I've now improved the backdrop. We now have a better look, a much nicer look and feel in the office, and some enhancements in that way. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, other than the light upgrade, which I'm really pleased with, by the way, is keyboards. I'm going to be moving into doing a lot more keyboard stuff. So this is the Keychron A80, which I saw advertised on Facebook and I thought looked absolutely fantastic. It's hot swappable, wireless, Bluetooth, USB-C, and you can change out the keycaps obviously, but also the switches. So I'm going to do an unboxing and review video on this, but then an upgrade video where I'll be swapping it out with a number of different key switches to try and find the perfect balance of what I'm after. And this is obviously a dangerous road to get down, but you can just see a box here full of different key switches that I've already purchased for sort of testing purposes. So I've got a bunch of different ones, including Novel Keys creams, which are meant to be very popular. A number of other purchases from kbdfans.com, and I'll go into more depth on those sorts of things. There's a switch tester, I bought a lubing kit, the housing kit for that, switch removal tool, the lube, the brushes, everything. So I'm planning on testing out a number of different switches in the A80 and seeing which ones I like. I have a feeling that I probably won't end up using that as my main keyboard still. But we'll see. But once I've done that, I've also got the GMMK Pro from Glorious on order. I'm waiting for that to be delivered, and I'm going to do some interesting things with that as well. I'm going to upgrade that, try out a number of different switches in it. I've got loads of different keycaps up here on the shelf. Obviously I have those Corsair PBT double shot keycap sets that I looked at previously, but I've also purchased some other ones with interesting different designs on them. So there's a lot of potential for different colour variations. Simple funky things, whether it's like different accents of blue and stuff like that, or a bit more dramatic. I've got one set which is just like a grey gradient that I think should look pretty interesting, and I'm going to test it out on different keyboards. But one of the other things that I'm more excited about, and I'm actually going to start with, is this. This is the Keychron K1, and again, this is another keyboard that I purchased. I tried getting hold of the A80 and the Keychron keyboard by contacting them and saying, you know, I'd like to do a video on it, but I didn't hear anything back, so I ended up buying one. And the reason why is because this is a low profile keyboard, and as you might know, my favorite keyboard is the G915 TKL, the low profile 10 keyless keyboard from Logitech. I'm a big fan of it, and I like it because of its low profile nature. It sits low to the desk and it's really comfortable to use. So this is my favorite, and there are reasons for it in a number of different ways. It's good looking, obviously. It's a nice looking keyboard, although it's a bit dirty, needs cleaning. Very low profile, so your wrists aren't constantly raised up. The keys are also quiet and satisfying to use, and the battery life is fantastic too. Now this is remarkably a lot cheaper, and yet it has wireless and wired connectivity. It has 2 weeks battery life apparently, and a number of other things. It's quite understated by its design. It's like a grayscale. I'll hopefully include some B-roll because I'm planning on doing this video tonight. But the plan is to do an unboxing video on this and then a comparison video. Anyway, trying to find something that's quiet enough, because that's one of the reasons I like the G915 TKL. It's going to be difficult to get a quiet switch, comfortable to use, so it ticks a lot of different boxes, because one thing I don't want is for the keyboard to be picked up in streaming videos. So if I'm streaming, I don't want constant keyboard sounds being picked up through my microphone. So that's one of the reasons I like the G915, and I think this might be a viable alternative and a very affordable one by comparison, and nice looking too, so it'll be interesting to do some content on that. But the thing that I'm most excited about is this light, and I want to show you what it's like, but I don't know how well it's going to get picked up on camera, so let's have a go. As you can see, hopefully, the 300D is a bit of a monster. Just the sheer size of the thing is gargantuan. Also, just to demonstrate how gargantuan, I'm going to give you a view of the other side of the room. Now you can see the sort of size of the setup and how big it is. Obviously quite a substantial upgrade, and especially if you consider the sort of previous lighting system that I had. Now this light is ridiculous. If you look it up, you'll find out that it's about £1,000. It cost me £800. It's about $1,000 just for the light itself, so just for this bit. The light dome, this is then another 200. The stand that it comes on as a C stand does not get included with the light. You have to buy that separately. That's another 150. Then you need sandbags at the bottom to make sure it doesn't tip over. So it's a very expensive investment. Now, this has taken about a year to save up for. I've been getting affiliate money through Amazon, through YouTube, so whenever people buy stuff, I get Amazon vouchers in the UK that I can then use, and I've been saving them up for a long time, and I just finally got enough money to be able to get it. And just the sheer difference that it makes, if I turn it off, you'll get an idea. Now I only have a light above me and this light here at the moment, so if I turn it off, you'll just see what the difference is. You can see how much darker this area is, and for video it makes such a big difference to have a good amount of light. Now this is, I've turned this right down now actually. If I turn it up even more, I mean you can see it going. That's now at 100% and it's like overpowering. It's overpowering the camera, so I have to turn it down again. But you can get an idea of just how bright and what a difference that makes. Incredible. So a really good investment. I'm hoping it'll be fantastic, especially for macro shots and getting really close-up shots of things, because you need a lot of light for it. One of the things I've panicked about when I got it out of the box is the amount of shadow that it was giving off. But without the dome, it's just gives a lot of shadows off and it doesn't look as good. Now I've improved, but this is part of the YouTube expenditure. Obviously spending £1,000, well over £1,000 on a light seems like a lot, and it is kind of sad because I could have spent it on something a bit more exciting. But I think it's an important investment in the future of my channel, because it's going to improve the quality of the content. And now it won't turn down again. It will improve the quality of the content that I'm making, and hopefully result in a better experience and better videos going forward, so it's worth doing. Obviously it's a chunky thing that takes up a lot of my office as well, but it means that I can get rid of potentially these two little lights, or at least just keep one of them. These lights that I've been using for a long time are just cheap lights off Amazon that my wife bought me a long time ago, and they fall over all the time. The power cables aren't long enough, they're nowhere near as bright, and you need two of them, and you keep having to move them around to make sure they're getting enough light on the situation to be able to sort of cope with shadows and just making sure everything looks good. So this upgrade is going to be fantastic, I think. Alongside the addition of extra cameras and microphones and things like that, it's going to be a great move. But anyway, lots of exciting things happening. Hopefully you'll notice an improvement in the quality of the videos going forward, and also some interesting highlights if you're into keyboards. I'm going to be doing a lot more. Like I say, I've got 3 keyboards at the moment that I purchased personally that I'll be working on. Multiple different videos on upgrades, maybe ones on switches and things like that. It's a dangerous avenue to get down, because obviously enthusiast level keyboards is a whole different ball game, and it can get very expensive, and there are a lot of people that have very strong opinions on that sort of thing, and I'm basically a noob when it comes to that, but hopefully it'll be an interesting journey anyway. And so I'm going to get into this keyboard now. The other thing that should be good about this light is that it has a colour temperature of 5500 Kelvin, so it's a specific colour temperature that it's at, which is great because that means I can go into the cameras and I can set that specific colour temperature in there to have the white balance set so it's always the same. Because one of the problems I've had with using different lights obviously is not being able to match that up and not getting it perfect. And sometimes you might have noticed with multi-camera shots, it's been especially a problem where using different lenses, they're open at different f-stops and different aperture sizes and different ISOs just to try and get the lighting the same, but it often results in the colour temperature not being quite right and it doesn't look quite as good. So I'm hoping that having this and then setting all the cameras to the same colour temperature should result in a more accurate representation of the world, but also consistency between the shots. So you should see the rich colours of the desk that you can see in the background and the wall and whatever else, and also an accurate representation of what's happening and just a lot better quality. And hopefully that will really shine through. One of the things I've noticed previously is because of this desk, I have a oil on this desk which is satin, and so it results in a really nice sheen. Unfortunately that sometimes results in a lot of sort of extra reflections and glows from the light sources. So in this top-down camera, for example, at the moment I can see some reflections. And you can see some of it here on this side. That's obviously from the main light, and this is from the little cheap lights. And I can adjust the light hopefully into a different position. The option that I also have is I do have the ability to potentially put the light on an arm and then have it above, so I could potentially run it over here and then down. It still might end up in that reflection, so I'm going to have to play around with this. There's also other frontages that you can put on the softbox. I'm going to experiment with those, so things might change over time, but just the sheer amount of light in here means I can have a really low ISO on here, and it can keep all the other settings as low as possible, which will allow a lot of the rich colours from the desk and the other sort of background bits to come through, but also a really crisp image, because having a low ISO really matters. So at the moment I've got this one set to 400. Ideally at 200 is better. Earlier on when I was trying to show you the light, I had it at like 600, 800, and that's too high and it starts to become grainy, and so being able to set it lower is really important. So actually, if you're into doing YouTube videos, or you want to get into doing YouTube videos, light is a really key thing. The more light you have, the lower you can set those settings, the better the quality of the videos become because of it. So if you use a really high ISO, it results in a really grainy image, and even in 4K that doesn't look great. So maximum lighting is key, but I'm still learning, there's lots to learn. I think that's hopefully part of the fun and hopefully of interest to anyone that's watching. So now I'm going to start opening up the K1 and see what's going on inside. So I can already see some things that I was wrong about. For example, this doesn't have wireless. I thought it had wireless. It's actually pitched as wireless, but it has Bluetooth 5.1, so it's not going to be low latency, so not ideal for gaming. It's also really pitched as like a Mac keyboard, but it does come with Windows keys, so you can swap out those keys. But it still remains true that it is very similar in design to the G915 TKL. It's very low profile. It's quite similar in its sort of setup. It's very thin, raised keycaps, low profile design, and a nice sort of finish to it. Obviously, the white's more striking on that than it is on this. This black is not as nice, but if you look at the standard black version of the G915, you'll see that this is a very nice looking keyboard, and it looks like, sounds like, very quite quiet and comfortable. This is with red switches. It comes with red, blue or brown. Obviously the red is the quietest and preferable for gaming on. They're Keychron switches, and I was wrong, this is not swappable, so I can't upgrade this one, which is a shame. I have a feeling there's another one, another variant of this. Also, this is on the white one. There's an RGB version and one with just white backlighting. I had to go for the white one simply because they didn't have an RGB one in stock at the time, and I was being impatient. I probably should have waited. But there's a lot of nice little things going on with the function row. We've got media controls, for example. It lacks some of the things that the G915 has. There's no volume playback wheel, for example. No dedicated media control keys, which is something I really like about that keyboard. However, first impressions are it's good, it's weighty, it looks good quality, feels nice and solid. I think it's going to be a nice keyboard to use. We'll see whether it ends up replacing the G915. I'm not sure it will. I don't know whether I can get some replacement keycaps for it, make it look a bit nicer, because I really like the white of the G915. These feel a bit flimsy, but I thought about this. I thought the same when I had the G915. So, as an affordable alternative, it looks like it might be very viable. Another addition to the setup: new mouse mat. Hopefully, a nice funky effect, something slightly different. I think it's pretty nice, and something to make something that's kind of grayscale stand out a bit more and be a bit more interesting. One of the most interesting discoveries I've made when doing keyboard videos is that people really like keyboard sounds. One of my best performing videos on my channel is actually a comparison between the G915 TKL in white and the black one. The black one's in a bit of a state at the moment, it's a bit dusty, needs sorting out. My wife uses it and she's a heathen. Anyway, I did two videos on these keyboards. One an actual comparison to talk about the different features, which there isn't much of one, but there are some things worth coming on. For example, these keys end up not letting as much light through, they don't look as good as you can see, they also mar more easily, etc., which is surprising. You'd think the white one would get worse, but actually it doesn't. The black one looks worse over time than the white one. But the thing that people liked the most was actually that. A video I did, which is literally just this. And there's a video on that, I think my best performing video, and it still carries on being, it's not the best performing video, but it's one of my best performers. And so now I'm going to do some keyboard noises from the K1, and then a comparison with the G915, both of them. So you get a comparison between red switches on here and then clicky and tactile switches on these two. The differences between that, and I'll be able to do a versus video which is talking about the differences between the keyboards, and then another video which is just the sound differences, and I bet that one will do better than the others. And this sort of success of keyboard videos is why I'm doing more and more keyboard videos, and also to put these on the ASMR channel and help that one to grow as well. So if you don't know already, I've got an ASMR style channel which goes alongside my main channel, which is a secondary channel. Hasn't got a terrible amount of subscribers on it. It's very small by comparison, but it's basically just me unboxing the stuff and not talking at all. And then obviously loads of that if you're into that, and some other bits. So content for that channel, content for the main channel, multiple different videos, loads of different ideas here, unboxing of that, compare with these two, and then sounds for all of them compared. And Then if that's successful, I'll then look and see if there's any other low profile keyboards that I can do, because I really like this low profile setup. There's the Roccat Vulcan is another one, but I found that to be quite noisy, whereas these are quite very quiet by comparison. So I think that's going to be interesting, and hopefully people will like it. Let's see how it goes. Well, I'm now at the end of doing or capturing most of the footage on the keyboard, and I'm pretty pleased with it, I must say. It sounds fantastic. I've noticed a few things which will be interesting. For example, when comparing the two keyboards, the two favourite keyboards, I noticed there's a gap between the Keychron K1 keys, which is very small, but isn't there on the G915, and so it's easy to pass your fingers across keys between them. I don't know whether it's going to affect typing or not. Interesting experience. Also, there's like minor differences, like a very slight difference in size. G915 is a bit bigger, so interesting. The same sort of layout, but slightly bigger frame. Anyway, the other conclusion to what I've been doing tonight, the work I've been doing, is that this light was possibly the best purchase I've ever made. It's made life so much easier. I've got some really good footage from several angles. I'm still using the little rubbish one off to the side to add a little bit of extra light from two directions. But the quality of this thing is just incredible. The light that's given off is amazing. The footage looks like it's going to be fantastic. I won't tell until I get it on my computer, but I think it looks really nice. So it was well worth the investment, even though it is super expensive. But there's nothing worse than having post-purchase regret, and I have post-purchase happiness. I'm really pleased with that investment and the potential that it's going to offer in terms of improving the quality of the videos in future. I'm also pretty psyched for getting some more content out, because I've been super busy lately and I've not had a chance to do as much as I'd like, and I want to keep chasing the next subscriber count, which I'm getting close to 40,000, but it's going to be a few months yet. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button. Go on, you know you want to. And let me know what you think of the K1. Do you think it looks nice? Obviously I'm going to drop some B-roll into this, and be sure to watch out for the proper video coming soon. And let me know what you think of it, and if there's any other Keychron keyboards that I should be looking at. And yeah, tweet at them or something and tell them to send me some gear, because they won't respond to me. It's very rude. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, or if anything you'd like to see or know about what I'm doing, or have any suggestions for things that I could do that you might be interested in, especially if it's in the keyboard department, because I'm really keen on doing more keyboard things. I obviously have 3 on the go at the moment, as I said. I'm going to do some potential dabbling. I've had an idea, a brainwave, of doing something a little bit crazy, like how I upgraded the Corsair K65 RGB Mini, which will require some soldering and some insanity. I don't even have soldering equipment, so I'll have to spend some money. But I think it could be pretty cool to remove all the key switches from the K65 and swap them out for something more satisfying, lubed, really interesting switches, upgrade it, obviously upping it look and feel with the keycaps is something I've already done, but improving the key switches, and well, maybe adding some foam or something crazy like that. I think that could be really cool and interesting and a bit out there, so it's slightly different. But also I'd like to just explore building your own keyboards, modifying keyboards, custom keyboards, that sort of thing. It's an expensive and dangerous territory to get into, but still. Anyway, I'm waffling on. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for watching.